Welcome to the Art of Medicine, the program that explores the arts, business, and clinical aspects of the practice of medicine. I'm your host, Dr. Andrew Wilner. Today's episode is number 100. I thought we would do something different to celebrate. First, thank my listeners and those who watch on YouTube. If this is your first episode, thanks for coming. If you're a faithful viewer, you know that I try and interview interesting guests and let them tell their stories. I want to thank all 99 guests that I've had on this program. None of the guests are paid. They come, they give of their time to share their expertise and tell their stories. And I always have fun interviewing them. Today, however, there is, I hope you don't mind, no special guest. This is the first solo episode. You know, it's a lot easier to have guests, and I like to learn from my guests, but I thought I would tell the story, since this is episode 100, of how this podcast began and where I'd like it to go. But before we get started, I'd like to thank our sponsor, locumstory.com. Maybe you're curious about locums and how it might fit into your career story, but do you know all the different reasons physicians choose locums and how it works for them? At locumstory.com, you can hear firsthand stories as diverse as physicians themselves. There's not one solution for everyone. The variety of opportunities might surprise you. Locum Story is an unbiased educational resource. It has tools that let you explore trends in your specialty and compare different locums agencies. There's even a simple quiz to see if locums is right for you. Do your own research at locumstory.com. It's easy. Speaking of locums, I'd like to thank locumstory.com for being my sponsor. And it looks like I learned yesterday that locumstory.com will be the sponsor for 2024. And I'm really excited about that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the origins. Where did the Art of Medicine podcast come from? Well, way back when I published The Locum Life, A Physician's Guide to Locumtenens, I thought, gee, how are people going to learn about the book? Of course, it's on Amazon. So I decided to do a 3, 4, 5-minute chapter video for each chapter. So I recorded chapter 1 and chapter 2 and chapter 3. So I made all of these short videos. They're up on YouTube. They're all free. They're also listed at my website, andrewwilner.com. So if there's one that interests you, you can just go and watch it. And it's a summary of that chapter, so you don't have to read the book. Obviously, the book has more details, but the chapters are pretty good summaries. After all, the videos are done by the author, so they're easy, and they're all listed on the website. For example, who does locums? There's newly graduated, mid-career, pre-retirement, things like that. Well, after I did all 20 chapters, it was like, well, what do I do now? So I thought, gee, wouldn't it be interesting to interview some physicians who've done locums? So I interviewed Cory Fawcett, who is a surgeon who did locums before he retired. And he doesn't like that word retired because now he's very active writing finance books for physicians. And then I merged into, gee, why don't I interview a staffing agent? So I interviewed Nicole Paskett from CompHealth. And Nicole was episode number 1. And she was also episode number 2 because she had a lot to say. And that first episode that I did with Nicole has been viewed on YouTube over 1,000 times. So then I thought, you know, locums is great, but why don't I broaden it a bit? So one of my goals is to share the good work that so many people do. They work hard, they write a book, they help at the hospital, they volunteer, they do medical missions, but they never make the front page of the New York Times. And often their work just goes unnoticed, you know, and we tend to hear the bad news in the newspaper, all newspapers, all TV. But there's a lot of good work going on. And so I thought, well, gee, maybe with this podcast, I can feature people who are doing fun and good things. I've hosted filmmakers, musicians, educators, healthcare providers, medical technology developers, wellness coaches, nutrition experts, financial experts, and a couple of rabbis. And of course, more than a dozen of the last 99 episodes have been about locum tenens. Well, what about the future? As a writer myself, I really enjoy learning from other writers, particularly physician writers. And many of the last 99 episodes have been discussions with writers about their books and also their motivations. Why do they write? How do they write? How do they get it done? And I plan to interview more writers in the future. I've already lined up one with a guy that is totally amazing, Jeffrey Wilson. He is an ex-combat surgeon, a vascular surgeon, who now spends his time writing adventure stories. I can't wait to speak with him, and you'll hear about him next year. While I have plenty of guests lined up for 2024, if you'd like to suggest someone, please contact me at my website, www.andrewwilner.com. The website also has links to every episode of The Art of Medicine, as well as links to all my other programs and publications. If you join my email list, you'll receive a free chapter from my book, The Locum Life, and also you'll receive my blog. The blog has no particular periodicity. It comes out whenever I have a new program on ReachMD, for example, or Medscape, or a new publication. I write a quick blog about it, and I send the link. So it's a great way to follow if you want to see what's new. Feedback. Please, I always appreciate feedback. If there's something I can do better, let me know. I produce this program. I choose the guests. I do the interview. I do the editing. I post it up on the websites. I do everything. So if there's something that needs a little tweak that I can do better, let me know. And if there's something that I've done that you particularly like, I'd love to learn about that too. You know, hosting The Art of Medicine is a lot of work. I do have a full-time job. I'm an associate professor of neurology at the University of Tennessee Health Science Center in Memphis, Tennessee. And frankly, it's demanding. This podcast is fun, fulfilling, and I always learn a lot, and I squeeze it in on my off time. And I hope you enjoy every episode as much as I do. Before we close, I'd like to give another thanks to our sponsor, locumstory.com, a resource where providers can get real, unbiased answers about locum tenens. I'm Dr. Andrew Wilner. See you next time. This program is hosted, edited, and produced by Andrew Wilner, MD, FACP, FAAN. Guests receive no financial compensation for their appearance on The Art of Medicine. Andrew Wilner, MD, is Associate Professor of Neurology at the University of Tennessee Health Science Center, Memphis, Tennessee. Views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on this program belong solely to Dr. Wilner and his guests and not necessarily to their employers, organizations, or other group or individual. While this program intends to be informative, it is meant for entertainment purposes only. The Art of Medicine does not offer professional financial, legal, or medical advice. Dr. Wilner and his guests assume no responsibility or liability for any damages, financial or otherwise, that arise in connection with consuming this program's content. Thanks for watching. For more episodes of The Art of Medicine, please subscribe. www.andrewwilner.com